And we're live on YouTube. And now that we're live on YouTube, we're live on our conference line. And now let's take a look at Facebook, social media, and we should be covered on all three. So welcome. Welcome to those on our conference line. Welcome to those on our social medias, Facebook, and welcome to the world international, those on YouTube, whether you're watching the recording or you joined us on live stream. And for the record, today is known as Wednesday, January, the 4th day of January of that calendar, the Gregorian calendar, January the 4th, 2023. And that's of their calendar, Gregorian. That was made, of course, first by Julius Caesar, that come from the Roman calendar, and then Augustus, Empress of Rome, and finally by Pope Gregory XIII, who revised the Bible. And that's what the world is being governed by today, this planet. And so much until they're under the impression that 4 days ago was a new year. That's known as January the 1st, 2023. However, we are celestial. We are celestial beings that own this planet and all the planets and the galaxies in the universe we own. I come before the people on this planet today to confess a secret in a form of what was a mystery. And for the record, this is being recorded on the 24th day of the 10th month of our celestial solar calendar. Again, that's the 24th day until sundown of the 10th month of our celestial solar calendar of our solar year 6025. And our new year, our celestial new year that governs this planet, that's ruled by the sun, will start in March of that calendar. The new year starts in March. And that is confirmed and recorded in the Bible. The book's called Exodus and Deuteronomy. And with that said, speaking of books of the Bible, at this time I'm going to ask you to take out your study tools. If you have a King James Version Bible, then grab hold to that. I am your host of this planet, one of heaven, of two, that you know is heaven. And I come and descend down to this planet on your terms of communication. Those who have never heard this before, you think heaven is a place above, but it is not. The word heaven is a deceptive word that was created by Satan to have you submitted to both places of his dwelling structure, heaven and hell. We come from above, known as Jerusalem, the city of peace, the most powerful knowledge of peace in existence. It's known here on this planet as Jerusalem. But we come from Jerusalem, Bethlehem Ephrata. That's where I'm from. I'm known in the Bible, and I'm known throughout history as Micah. But you don't know what his story is. And this is one of the secrets that I'm going to reveal today. The secret that I'm going to reveal today is over 6,025 years old. Over 6,025 years old. I'm also known in the Bible as Yahshua, the son of Nun. And by billions of people on this planet, I'm known by a God that was created by the name of Greece. As they changed the name of our God of the Hebrews to Zeus, and they changed the name of his son to Jesus. Espanol, Jesus. In English, Jesus. And over 2,025 years ago, I was about to reveal this secret, and the men of the tribe called Yehuda turned me in over to the judge of Rome, who's known in the Bible as Pilate. I'm going to take you to that in a moment. They recorded it, originally in Hebrew, Hebraic, and then in German, and now the original in Greek of the Bible, translated into English. But I'm coming before you today, as many men of this United States of America we're broadcasting from. We're broadcasting from the United States of America. I'm in a state called Florida on the East Coast in the South, in a city that's known as Miami in the South. That is where I am. And that is where I came out of the gateway in the year known as 5958. I came out of the gateway in that city as prophetically promised. So as a reminder, once again, I say take out your study tools. Take out your King James Version Holy Bible and take out a Strong's Concordance if you have it, if you have one. Take out a dictionary and take out something to write with and something to write on. I want you to write down a few things. You're being encouraged to take notes. That way, if they destroy this video, you'll have it on notes. If they allow these videos on 3 different public communication social media devices and networks. We left this available for today back in 1947. As my father, Ab in Hebrew, supplied this planet with a spaceship, one of our celestial crafts, that inside was equipped with celestial technology that's light years ahead of the technology of this mankind that we created. But we gave them a helping hand in order to create the technology that you're using today in order to see me. It was promised in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. Had it not been for that, you would not be able to see me, and therefore prophecy would not be able to be fulfilled. Again, I'm known as Micah the Morosite. I was promised to return, and here I am. There's also recorded the book called the Acts. And that's what we're going to take you to right now. As you look behind me, you see on the monitor several spacecrafts. They belong to us. They're called by mankind UFOs. These are the spacecrafts that we travel in throughout the galaxies, cosmos. They travel at light speed. In fact, they travel faster than light speed. You cannot measure the speed that our spacecrafts can travel. We are here now, and these spacecrafts, a few of them are circling and hovering above this planet. And they can be best seen at night that you think of stars up above. I have several over my head right now over this house where I'm sitting in Miami of Florida. You've been seeing sightings on your planet, and some have been reporting these sightings by citizens of this planet and by certain military personnel and commercial pilots of your aircrafts. But these are our spacecrafts. Before you go to the book called the Acts, I would like for you right now to turn to the book called the Psalms of the Old Testament so we can show you that they're recorded in the Bible. Psalms chapter 68. Would you turn to that? Those who don't have a Bible, we're going to assist you with that. If you look over my head on the monitor in back of me, we're going to help you with reading the Bible that you should have in your home Every hotel in this country was at one time equipped with a Bible in those rooms, with a contract by the Gideon Company of the Thomas Nelson Publishing Company in Nashville, Tennessee. That means even as you're lodging per diem in hotel buildings in this country, you were furnished with the Bible so you can keep up on what's happening today. Your world is coming to an end. These natural phenomena are part of prophecy that my soul promised would be happening at my coming. And you should know that with all of these natural disasters and phenomenal weather conditions, that I must be here. It is not normal to snow in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East or in the deserts of Iran and Iraq, of Israel, of Tel Aviv and Gaza. That is not normal to snow in the desert, neither to show black camels on social media. Most people did not know camels come in a shade color of black, but they are to surface during the last days of my coming. It does not snow in Africa. When you see snow in Africa, then you know that I'm here. They have what they call a bomb cyclone coming on the west coast of this country. That's announcing my presence here. There will be floodwaters in the city that's known as San Francisco and Oakland, California, and all the east coast of Massachusetts and New York. From the east coast to the west coast, from north to south, will be floodwaters, all prophetical. It is showing this planet that I'm here. These are signs of heaven that you know is heaven, but they are still signs of hell. I'm riding on a black horse, and with me is death. Behind me is death. It was promised Revelation. I am he that's sitting on the black horse. You find this black horse in Revelation chapter 6, verse 5. But right now, I'd like for you to read Psalms chapter 68 and verse 4. Read verse 4.
Psalms chapter 68, verse 4, quote, "Sing unto God, sing praises to his name, extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah, and rejoice before him."
This is how the theologians of England ordered Robert Barker in 1611 to place this name as YAH. In 1611, it was YAH, which was half of what William Tyndale and John Wycliffe printed in their Bibles, half of Yahweh, YAH, WEH. That is not the name of the God of Hebrews, whether it be in Hebrew, Hebraic, or English. That is not his name. After the year 1630, when they added the letter V and the letters J to the English's alphabet, then they revised the Bible and they put JAH opposed to YAH. If you find a 1611 Bible, you may even find a UAH. You may find a UAH, a WAH, or a YAH. You will not find the 1611 Authorized Edition a JAH. Why? Because J did not exist until 1630 on this planet. Therefore, since the letter J did not exist in any idiom of all the languages, idioms on this planet, then how could there have been a Jesus over 2,025 years ago? That was not his name. That was not my name. Neither did anyone know my name. My name was not promised to be revealed until today when I returned. And that name that only I knew that you should see on your screen, on your monitors, on my forehead. That is my name. If you want to know how to pronounce my name, then you come to me and I will help you to pronounce it. Once you pronounce my name and call his name to my Father in New Jerusalem, in our city up above, that he will save you. I will save you. This is the only name whereby the men of this planet and women and children can be saved of what's coming and what's already here. The theologians and the papals of the Vatican have deceived this world as the angels of Satan. They are Luciferians, as the angels of Satan. They were created to deceive the world. From the beginning, the book called Genesis, the very first book of the King James Version Holy Bible in the Old Testament. You may say Genesis, but there was no J. It's Gimel, Genesis. Their nature is to deceive the world, as it's recorded in the book called Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9. You can make a note. But the emphasis that I'm making right now, the point that I'm making, is that the name of the God of Hebrews is not Yahweh, with a vowel A and E added to YHW. Neither is it Jehovah. There's no J in Hebrew or Greek. There's no J in Hebrew or Greek. So how could there be a Jesus even translated from Greek? There's no J in Greek. It's a deception. You've been deceived. So therefore, since there is no J, no Jehovah, no Jesus, there's no jelly, no jobs, no jets. And I'm not jiving. J does not exist. My father rides upon the clouds above the sky, the universe, the galaxies on a mothership. And inside the mothership, there are several other spacecrafts that come from the mothership. The mothership could be seen at some time to be mistaken as the moon. The mothership is 300 feet, 600 feet in diameter. Actually, it's 900 feet in diameter. I'm revealing a secret. My father's telling me to reveal it. The mothership is 900 feet in diameter. That's 3 football fields round. It can hold several of our spacecrafts. Just to give you an idea, read verse 17 of the same chapter, 68.
Verse 17, quote, the chariots of God are 20,000.
These chariots that begin with a C are what they call UFOs today. That means these chariots are for transport. You made chariots here on this planet that were empowered with a horse. And we have chariots that are flying in this galaxy and in the universe and up above this planet that are flying by no remorse. We use hydrogen for fuel. Hydrogen was found in the atmosphere above the planet and in the planet, H2O, even water. So this enables our spacecraft to never run out of fuel. We don't have to stop to other planets to refuel as we travel to that planet, as your commercial airline pilots have to do from airport to airport, country to country, state to state, city to city. We are the god of speed. And that would explain, if you ever see me traveling on my black horse with 4 rubber wheels on it today that you made in the automobile factories on this planet, that would explain why the only speed I know is fast. If you put your soldiers behind me that are riding in other chariots with 4 rubber wheels with a red blue light on the roof, and you put them behind me, they will see my tag or my license plate tag that's specially custom made that says third seal. I'm the one that my father loosed on the third seal. It also has a badge on the tag to let all those soldiers, the pilot, and the government know not to mess with my vehicle. You can look and you can follow me in my vehicle and you can read the tag. I'm giving you a heads up. You see my tag. Again, it's third seal, state of Florida. 3, the number 3, SEAL. With a PBA tag badge on the tag. You get behind my vehicle and you see me going over a limit that you put on a sign with two numbers. I gave you the technology to create that sign and those numbers. That means I'm God of that sign. You are not to stop my vehicle. If you stop my vehicle, and I will pull over because I will acknowledge your law. Because if I don't pull over, I'm going to cause death upon you. How is that? Because you're going to summon on your radio several other vehicles just like it. Some with different colors, but the same lights. Blue and red on the roof. Then you're going to think I'm fleeing from you. And while you're following me, my crowds will be following you. And you do not want to dance with my spacecrafts. Because the lights that are on my spacecrafts are not blue or red. They are white and yellow. But mostly white. It comes out white, like a white beam. And those white beams are what you call laser. They are laser beams. But I'm not going to take advantage of that. It's not time for that. You'll see them sooner or later. Your prayer and hope is that it's later, not sooner. I'm just giving you an idea of what you should be looking for.
Oh.
Am I afraid of you? I'm not going to answer that question because it's an insult to even ask. I don't even know how to spell afraid. Your idiot. Afraid? Do I sound like I'm afraid? Do I look like I'm afraid to you? Do I look like I fear any man on this planet? There's no weapon formed that you create on this planet that can prosper against me. None. My mouth said it. Now, if you have doubt with that, then I suggest that you read Revelation chapter 11 and verses 6, 7, and 8, especially verse 6. I'm the one that's causing all the plagues that you are experiencing right now on this planet, as often as I will. And verse 7 is warning you not to even think of hurting me. You think it's them. Them is one. It's called witnesses, two witnesses. One that you knew and one that you did not know. One that you thought you knew and one that you would never know. There's two. There's two witnesses with one soul, one head, one body, terrestrial. There's no such thing as two witnesses. My Father has one begotten Son, only one. The only begotten Son. But you just read first in the first sentence of Psalms chapter 68, verse 17, the chariots.
Mm-hmm.
Those are spacecrafts, again. How many?
20,000.
20,000 that was recorded, not that was created, made. That's all that Dowd do. Dowd. Dowd is also known today in English as David. Dalit Wab Dalit. Dowd. Or Dalit Hey Dalit. Dalit Hey Dalit. Dalit Wab Dalit. Dalit Yo Dalit. You don't know which Dalit I'm of. But I am the root and offspring of one of those Dalits with Wav in the middle. Or is it Hey in the middle? Or is it Yo in the middle? Which one? You should want to know. But that's for you to find out and discover. So that's recorded in the book called Revelation, chapter 22 and verse 16. So here you see is only recorded the 20,000. And a few of those thousand has a hangar on the mothership. Again, 900 feet in diameter. That's round. Could you imagine a 900 feet in diameter spacecraft that's not bound to speed? Why? Because it belongs to God, the one you call God. Had it been, if he was bound to speed, then he couldn't go anywhere. Speed would take over and become God. But the mothership, as big as it is, even as small as it is, can travel so fast until when you think you saw it, it became a thought. And that's why you say, you, unidentified.
Mm.
You didn't know what it was. My father, when he flies the mothership, he tells Speed up ahead he's on his way. And when he does that, Speed, as he passes by, bows its head. Sometimes Speeds get on its knees as he passes by and beg for forgiveness. You know it's warp speed. It becomes warp. Speed becomes warp and almost crippled. Did you hear what I said?
Mm-hmm.
The mothership can travel so fast until it cripples Speed and causes Speed to take on crutches. And sometimes Speed sits in a wheelchair and become another wheel in the middle of a wheel. The chariots that are recorded in the book called Psalms chapter 60, verse 17, are only 20,000 that you see. And who's among them? Read the rest of that.
Even thousands of angels.
And those thousands of angels, some of those in the cockpit of those chariots. 2 you discovered in Roswell, New Mexico, the first week of July, 1947. And you still have some in Area 51, as well as Hangar 18, and other hangars that you are trying to keep top secret from the U.S. citizens of this country and the world.
Mm.
And what else?
The Lord is among them.
Right among them as the arch chief, the controller. As an angel sits in the control tower. You have your control towers, we have ours. The only difference is our control towers do not need radar. We created it. We create radar. Radar is already on the ships. Monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Turn to Ezekiel chapter 1 for a moment. They're recorded in the Bible. Ezekiel chapter 1. Read verse 16. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 16.
Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 16, quote, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl. And they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel.
That's what the spacecrafts look like. You call UFOs a wheel in the middle of a wheel. One likeness. You want to go back to that screen? This is what you just read in the book called the Psalms, chapter 68 and verse 17. All of those came out of the mothership, which is up in verse 4 of Psalm chapter 68. They came out of the mothership. Those are replicas, of course. Even the artists of the world, photographers know what spacecrafts look like. Wheel in the middle of a wheel. That's what you just read in Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 16. Also in Psalms chapter 68, verse 17. In order, 16, 17. Do you comprehend what I'm saying, what I'm revealing?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot did not know that. I returned to this planet in 1953 in one of those spacecrafts. After I ascended up in 1,952 years prior to that. Turn to the book now in your Bible called the Acts. It was an act. It was an act. It's in the Acts. Acts chapter 1. I'm told now I can reveal the secret. They crucified that body over 2,023 years ago. They crucified that body because I was revealing secrets. I was too early. Well, it's almost too late today. Almost too late. Almost. Read verse 9.
Verse 9, I
But
quote,
before you do, get the foundation. You should read verses 1 and 2 so you can know what happened. What was this gathering of men on that hill on the mountain of Galilee for?
verse 1, quote, the former treatise have I made, O Theophilus, of all that, should I verbatim?
Verbatim, we want, see, we're coming, I'm descending down as promised in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 16 and 17. I'm descending down. I'm reaching on layman's term the level of these people on this planet so they will know I'm not going to come to you in a parable. You chose to place certain names in your Bibles, and we're going to use your names that you placed there. So you just know who is who and what is what. So you know just who it is that people need to know. They've been deceived.
Of all that Jesus began both to do and teach.
Now you have a right to say either Jesus, and Jesus. So you can turn into Greek, Espanol, or English, whichever you prefer as a narrator and a reader. It's your choice. But you're going to read verbatim. That's a Bible here that we're using that has our history recorded in it. This is the Bible is our diary. Some of it, not all of it. It's been euphemized and changed during transliteration. But it's our diary. All of my people, the angels of my Father, are in this Bible. They're known as the children of Israel. They're the children of the God of the Hebrews. All so-called Negroes in this country, all who were the descendants of slaves. But the fourth tribe of the 12 of Israel is called Judah in English, the J. Yehuda in Hebrew. All of those are my Father's children. If you are an African American, so-called by the United States government, and its citizenship, and your ancestors in this country were at slavery from the 16th century to right now the 21st century, is still in slavery, then you are a child of God. Whatever name or whatever religion or camp that you have created among these shepherds that my Father did not send, once they were awakened to become known as they are Hebrew Israelites, whatever camp religion that you're falling back on and following those of Esau that they call Jews today, even if you recognize today that they created as a Shabbat, it's false. That you are a child of God. And should you not come out of her, as I commanded you to do so in Revelation chapter 18, verse 4, you're going to die with those that you are following. You are going to be destroyed. I'm warning you today again. I'm reaching out. And my words that go out of my mouth, they shall not return unto me void. They hadn't so far. Every single word that I said would happen, not prophesied, has come to pass. Every single word. That's my soul. So read verse 2 with that said.
Verse 2, quote, until the day in which he was taken up. After that, he, through the Holy Ghost.
That he is who they call up in verse 1 by that name. And what?
Had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen.
Do you understand that? He chose certain, it's not apostles. They were angels that he chose. And a few servants of Hebrew, of the tribe called Yehuda. That's verse 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
Okay, read for the sake of our schedule. Read verse 7.
Verse 7, quote, And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power.
That comes from Matthew chapter 24 and 34. Of that day and hour knoweth no man, or when my Father is coming. Did you hear what I said?
Mm.
Of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels of New Jerusalem, of the city, our great city of peace, Shalom. No, not even angels, but my Father only. That means you are now down to day and hour. You're down to days and hour. And the signs of this planet, of the natural phenomena and disasters, are a sign that you're now down to days and hour. And you think you're going to have an election in 2024. It's not a threat. It's common sense. You want to ignore that your world is coming to an end. And for you not to believe that your world is coming to an end, that means you do not believe in God. Although you put your right hand in the Bible, your left hand in the Bible, and you raise your right hand to be sworn into whatever position that you created of your de facto government.
Mm.
You even have witnesses going to court, putting their left hand on a Bible, the same Bible that you're reading, that you believe in God, to help you tell the truth. And God does not have to help you tell the truth. You shall know the truth. And once you know it, it's going to make you free. So while you stand on the witness stand and sitting in the chair, and why do you think you're going to have an election? And you're going to continue on this planet like it belongs to you and you have the control of time. And so much until you think that you have become the God of forever. And you are not the God of forever. You may have created the V, but you didn't create the W of ever. And that's why you took out the W and put in your Vic. You took out the Wick and put in the Vic. And you think you're going to, because of that, you think you can fool my people with your Tory. I came to put the ST in front of your Tory. I came to put the S in front of your Tory. And let the world know that you've been telling a story. You telling a story. Put the S in front of your Tory. Just like you put the Vic in front of your Tory.
Mm.
But I'm going to destroy your Vic and your Tory with death all at one time. And swallow it up. I'm going to reveal it today. You had no idea what that meant.
Mm.
There's only one male that can do that on this planet today. That start out to be two males. There's only one male today. The first male created the factory. And I'm going to get to that. But how? I first must return to do that. You read now in Acts, it was an act.
Mm.
That's why you're going to find the book called the Acts on how I ascended over 2023 years ago. How did I leave? You thought I was dead.
Mm.
The rulers of this world thought I was dead. The second death. You underestimate the power of God.
Mm-hmm.
Read on. That's verse 7.
Verse
8.
Quote, But ye shall receive power. After that the Holy Ghost has come upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto
The
me.
only way the Holy Ghost could come upon you is the Holy Ghost had to return to come upon you. And once you do, you'll become my witnesses. Read.
Unto me both in Jerusalem and in all Judea,
Right.
and in Samaria, and unto the uttermost part of the earth.
Now, right now, you're in the uttermost part of this planet. It's not Earth. We did not call this planet, name it Earth. We have no Hebrew word that begins with two vowels. Read the next verse.
Verse 9.
Verse 9.
And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight.
The only thing that they can describe it back in those days was a cloud, something that's they're familiar with that's in the sky. There were no aircrafts, no helicopters back then. There were no drones. There was not even a kite. The only thing that was flying in the skies in those days were fowls of the air, birds, and spacecrafts, celestial. And whenever one was seen, whoever saw them immediately went to their knees and put their faces to the ground because they never saw anything like it. You just read some of it in Ezekiel, the color of a beryl, bright, shiny. Here in the book called Acts that you read in your Bible, it says that he was taken up. I was taken up. And what else it says?
And a cloud received him out of their sight.
Now you think it's cloud, literal. Again, that is a spacecraft that received him. Walked right through the port door. Stood at the port door and waved at those that are left behind. As I waved with both hands, the door closed. The ship elevated, hovered above for a while, and took off. And the only thing they saw left was the skies of heaven. They couldn't even see the spacecraft. Why? Because we went and met light. We notified light above and speed. We notified them and let them know we were coming, and they bowed as we went by. I mean, we went light years away in just a year. The light was already there waiting on us. Even as we left light behind. And what happened after that? It's recorded. This is English.
Verse 10.
This was on scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
This was an event that happened. Left records for you to see today and read it. Verse 10.
Quote, and while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel.
Those men were angels. Still are, but they were in white. Some were black. Those who wear black in the laboratory and they're on a mission. Those who wear black are called death angels. They bring death. You want to know why you wear black at funerals? It's got to be a reason. Someone started it. Same complexion of our beings, our skin complexion. There's some, right now, you see brass on my skin complexion. It was promised that I'll be seen as brass complexion. Then you'll know it's me. I mean, I'll be just like brass, the same color of brass. Why would that be? Because there'd be a lot of false prophets coming. A lot of false prophets. Some would be black, white, red, yellow. But there's only one that would be like fine brass. Brass. Copper. The exact color. Sometimes you couldn't really tell if he's holding the cup with his finger or his face. Made out of brass. Got to look for the fingers. The cup is not levitating. So 2 men stood up with them wearing white apparel. And what else?
Verse 11. Which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner.
I'm reaching out again to those who are looking for me. Just as you have seen me go up, it said I will come back in like manner. Is that what it said at the end? The last word?
Like manner.
Like manner. As what?
As ye have seen him go into heaven.
I mean, I was the same complexion back in those days. Why is that? Because I had no mother and father. I was not bound to be in jet black or brown or white or yellow. My father is, I'm a one man's child. One man. I have no mother, no father. We use gates to come out of. And we put, as my father put his celestial seed in Abraham's loins, he did the same thing at my return. See, I said And that book says in that chapter and verse, I would arise. That I would rise in like manner. Now I made a promise. I left on scrolls that when I sit in darkness, I will arise. A rise. It'll be a certain rise. A certain rise. And I will return. Now turn to the book called Micah, Old Testament. They call it Micah. There's no Micah, no vowels, no I. You're reading for me that way. See, if I read, they won't know that my witnesses are here. Chapter 7, the last chapter, the last candlestick. 7. The only book in the Bible with 7 chapters exactly. For a reason. Read verse 7. 7:7.
Micah chapter 7, verse 7, quote, Therefore I will look unto the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me.
I will wait. These are all prophetical sayings. I will, I will. I shall, I will. What else?
Verse 8.
Verse 8.
Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise.
That is shall. I shall arise when I fall. And I fell. Even off the tree. They took me down off the tree. Even at that time I arose. I shall arise. What?
When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me.
Right, now you know what the light is. He was a light unto me. My Father, a light, not the light. He told them he was not that light. He's a light, but he's not the light. John chapter 1, read it. And what else?
Verse 9.
They can read that on their own. Verse 9.
I will bear the indignation of the Lord.
I will. You keep saying I will, I shall, I will. And when, and arise. That's prophetical. The last chapter in the book called Micah is prophetical. That means Micah is telling you, indicating that he's coming back. No other book of the Bible. There's not one other book of the 40 books of the Old Testament. Revelation is not part of the New Testament. There's not one book, no other servant, none, that promised words as this, that he will return, except Micah. Both Yirmiyahu and Isaiah copied from Micah. You know that's Jeremiah and Isaiah. They copied from Micah. Jeremiah wrote of Micah. Micah did not write of Jeremiah or Isaiah. Isaiah copied from Micah. That means chapter 2 of Isaiah and chapter 4 of Micah is the same. First 4, 5 verses the same print. And yet, Isaiah comes in position before Micah. So which one would you think come first? The one in the midst, in the middle. Number 33. What else it says?
Because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me, he will bring me forth to the light.
Here he will. Said he will be a light. He will be a light to me, and here's bring me to the light. Here I am now on the light, and I'm lighting up. Is that it?
And I shall behold his righteousness.
You keep saying shall. And I am right now, I am beholding my Father's righteousness. Right now, I'm beholding his righteousness. Begin with an R. Why is that? Because I'm doing what is right. I am continuing my works, as I said I would come back and do. That's in the Gospels. You don't have to go to it and read it. You probably read it. I did not finish my works before the crucifixion. But now I'm back to finish my works, as my Father brought me back, as he said he would. This is his will. But my works, I am the only one that he raised. Since 1979, of all that came before him, I am the only one that's doing his will and my works. You want to know my works? Then look around. These are my works. He did. You cannot measure his works. You want to see his works? Go stand outside and look far up in the universe as you can. See how many planets you can see. Look at the birds. Look around you. Everything that you see are his works. Look at the animals. Look at the trees. If you can see the moon, if you're on that side of the planet, look up. You can even see the moon during the daylight. That's his works. He's the architect of it. He's the architect of the universe. He's also the blessed and only potentate. That's his works. No one can compare his works. It's only ludicrous for you to think that I come to do his works. Can I do his works? He has his own works, and I have mine. In fact, he gave me my works to do. But he also gave me his will and ordered me and commanded me to do his will. And I'm doing just that. And one will that I'm to do today is to reveal the secrets. A few of them, not all. Little at a time. Precept upon precept. Precept upon precept. Line upon line. Line upon line. Here a little and there a little. Even the assembly line. You want to know why line is positioned twice? Because there's a line that separates the dividing of the firmament of above and below. There's a firmament that divided the above and below. That's a line. And then when we came below on the surface of this planet, we created another line that's called an assembly line. Like in a factory. Start in the beginning. The first book. And since then it became a Torah. So turn to Genesis chapter 1. Let's give you an idea how we created this. We are celestial beings that came to this planet and created more terrestrial beings. We are celestial beings that created terrestrial beings. Now you may know the difference, or you may want to know the difference between the two. Follow my commandments and my voice. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to read verse 1. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, quote, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth," end quote.
Right. Now, those are not structures. Those are what you would call inanimate things. Inanimate. I mean, mostly words and things that don't have life in it. Today you know them, you think you know them as places to go, a structure, a planet. We have several testimonies on that subject already. You can just scan through the videos and you'll find it. But we want you to know that something happened in the beginning. And all of that between verse 1 and verse 25 all began something. It was the beginning of something. Even to be, look, I think it's around verse 7 or 8, that it was a firmament that was divided.
Okay. Starting at 6.
Read verse 6.
"And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters."
Now, the firmament in the midst of the waters are the people. And the firmament in the midst of the waters is right in the middle. That's a line. Let's see if it's going to divide. Read what else it says.
"And let it divide the waters."
There it is. It's dividing the waters from the waters, it should say.
Yeah.
That means it divided the celestial from the terrestrial. Yes. Read and see.
Verse 7. "And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters
that
which
were
were
above the firmament. Right.
And it was so."
And it was so. That means those who are above the firmament are celestial. And those that are below the firmament became terrestrial. Those that are above the firmament were always there. They were always there. They were always there. But those below the firmament were about to be created in our own image. Place a marker here and go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And read someplace around verse 35. Start at verse 35. I think we want that. There's someone on our conference line, and what we're going to do is ask him to hang up. We come across this once in a while. There's no reason to go into our conference line. We're also on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to see this testimony live streamed, then go to YouTube or Facebook, social media. Read verse 35, 1 Corinthians chapter 15.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 35, quote, "But some man will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come?"
Now, in order to be raised up, they have to be raised up from below. Those that are above the firmament don't ever have to be raised up. Why? Because they were never let down. They never went down. They always stayed above the firmament. But there are some that were below the firmament that have to be raised up. But what body do they come in? Read.
Verse 36, quote, "Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die."
That's down below. Read on the next
Verse 37,
37.
"And that which thou sowest not that body that shall be, but bear grain, it may chance of wheat or of some other grain."
Now in chapter 1 you just read, you stopped at around verse 8 or so, or 9. That means these bodies that shall be had not existed yet. They were about to be created and made, but not formed.
Wow.
They were about to be created and made on this planet below the firmament in order to be raised up. Read on.
Verse 38,
38.
"But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him."
Now, that's past tense. These bodies that it had pleased him as he gave it a body, first they were just a seed. They were a grain, not literal, but they were just a seed in his mind, an idea that came from another, a greater source, his own. And he gave it a body in his own image. Read on.
"And to every seed his own body."
His own body. These are different bodies. These bodies, we're going to go back in a moment, back to Genesis chapter 1. I have to show you the foundation of where it is in the New Testament. So when I take you back to the first chapter of the book, Genesis, you get a clean, keen comprehension and understanding of how this came about. And these are all being made in a factory on the assembly line. Read.
Verse 39, "All flesh is not the same flesh,
You got that? Why?
but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of
These
birds."
are all in chapter 1 of the book called Genesis, the very first book of the Bible in chapter 1. Read on.
Verse 40, "There are also celestial bodies."
Now the celestial bodies are above the firmament, and bodies terrestrial, which are below the firmament. That what it says?
"And bodies terrestrial."
Bodies terrestrial. Celestial, terrestrial. The name of this testimony today, if you're looking for it, is called the Celestial Factory. The Celestial Factory. The Celestial Factory created the Terrestrial Factory. The Celestial Factory workers had an assembly line and created those in terrestrial.
Wow.
They're also known in the Bible as meat, M-E-A-T. And it being that we didn't have to create and make so many, we told and gave orders to them to create and make themselves and reproduce themselves on their own assembly line below the firmament.
Wow.
You read the rest of that? That's it?
No. Finishing off.
Mm-hmm.
"But the glory of the celestial is one,
Right.
and the glory of the terrestrial is another."
Another. Now, go back to Genesis chapter 1, read verse 9 again. And we divided them from ourselves. We are celestial beings. We may look like you. We may talk like you and eat like you. We digest food like you do. But that's not so. You digest food like we do. You're not God over us.
Right.
We gave you a communication device to communicate with one another with. It's called a mouth, a tongue, vocal cord, a larynx in your throat. Adam have the apple. Eve have the seed. Eve gets the seed. She has the hole, the womb where the tree is planted to create more trees and more apples. A tree is known by its fruit. You in verse 9?
Yes.
Read it.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 9, quote,
Mhm.
And God said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so.
Verse 10.
Verse 10. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good.
Okay, so now you think you got the earth here. If that was a structure, I'm going to put a little bit of common sense in your mind right now. If that was a structure, if earth was the structure of this planet that you're standing on right now, then how could all this take place? If he just created the earth, where did it take place at? Obviously, if the earth was just created, it did not exist. Well, how could this have happened?
Right.
This planet is not called Earth. Now read verse 26.
Verse 26, quote, And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Unquote.
Now you have the Torah. You have now the suffix that's known as Torah, that you think is Torah. You should have a dictionary up there on your monitor. Go to the dictionary and look up Torah. It should be, maybe it's there already. I may have left it there.
Yeah.
Read what a Torah is.
The Torah, I quote, an American colonist who supported the British side during the American Revolution. Number 2, in the UK, a member or supporter of the Conservative Party.
So that's what a Torah is. But that's not our Torah.
Right.
That's his Torah.
Wow.
Who? Satan.
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 Wow.
That's his Torah. Satan begins with, and the serpent begins with an S. When you put that S in front of the T, O-R-Y, you have story. That's Satan's story. And he gave you his story. You think it's history. No, it's his story. We have our own Torah. Are you comprehending what's being said right now? You don't want to leave anyone behind. This is a confession and a mystery and a secret that's being revealed. So what you think, now go back and read Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 again.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, quote, And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Unquote.
Now you have our Torah, the Torah of God, the beginning of mankind. And that was verse 26. That's mankind. These are terrestrial beings that are under the firmament, terrestrial.
Wow.
But they have nothing to do with verse 27. This, or these in verse 26, is a different species than they are in verse 27. They were more than man. They were also womankind, men and women. Biology, They were known in history books as Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, layman's term, ape man. They became like a man, the likeness. And then in verse 27, we have some that were coming right from the terrestrial level. Verse 26 is terrestrial. Verse 27 is celestial. We created more celestial beings on this planet and brought it with us, male and female, and we told them while they were here to be fruitful and multiply. Read verse 27. Let's see.
27, quote, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he
Now,
him.
his own image means they're just like him. They are celestial. His own image, celestial beings. And that means they became special. They became family. They became meat. Read it and see.
Male and female created he them.
Right. They were male and female. Verse 26 don't say female. It said man. That's all it said. Why? Because the W-O was also there, but you didn't see it because they became woman. The W-O. Those were protected from infinity. The W-O. Woman. Man with a womb. How else would they be able to conduct themselves accordingly to be mixed with the children of men? Right. It's Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Read 27, the rest of it.
That was the end of it.
Read verse 28.
28, quote, and God blessed them, and God said unto them.
That's the difference. He did not bless those in verse 26. Male and female, but blessed, celestial. Now you come right back. Don't forget 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verses 39 and 40.
Right.
What else?
And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
See, in order for that to happen, the earth was full of nothing that was celestial. Everything on the earth at that time was terrestrial.
Wow.
What we did was we brought the firmament that was above and brought it below to replenish the earth, to be fruitful and holy and righteous and moral, full of celestial beings to bring about peace. Because before then, there was no peace on the planet. It was full of corruption. You know, this planet is older than 6,000 years. So you're speaking of dinosaurs.
Right.
So we want to replenish the earth and substitute all the historical and ancient with more modern and celestial. That means we creating our own factory, our assembly line, and they can do it themselves. We didn't have to do it. We told them to be fruitful and multiply and watch the assembly line reproduce itself. And they just come off the assembly line. You call it coming out of a womb of a woman, of a female. That's the assembly line. And you can see it inside of the ovary, the assembly line being formed. From the embryo, from the egg to the embryo to the fetus. Just like us. Our own image. Male and female. Did you read the rest of it? Be fruitful and multiply. What else?
And replenish the earth
and
subdue it.
Right.
And have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air.
That's to become gods. They have dominion over all of that. They become gods. And what else?
And over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
Okay. Now that means they became gods of the planet. And in the book called Psalms, there is a verse that says, have I not told you that ye are gods?
82:6.
And children of the Most High?
Yeah.
Go to that. And then we're going to come back to chapter 5 of Genesis so you can see who they were called. They're gods. They became gods. Celestial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Psalms 82:6, I quote, I have said, ye are gods.
From the beginning. And you're who?
And all of you are children of the Most High.
You got it?
End quote.
How would that be able to be said if it did not exist? And where are they? They came from someplace.
Okay.
Before you go back to Genesis, go to Hebrews chapter 13. Read verse 1 and 2. This is a secret. Read that, please.
Verse 1, quote, let brotherly love continue.
Let it continue. Even from the beginning. That means from the beginning you were told to love. To a heart. In Hebrew. In verse 2.
Verse 2, quote, be not forgetful to entertain strangers.
They became strangers on this planet. You had no idea who they were, or where they were, or what they were. What?
For thereby some have entertained angels unawares.
You got it? Not only angels, but gods unawares. Why? Because they look like you do. No, you look like them. My people were here first. My angels were here first. We were here first. And remember, verse 26, we created in our image.
Mm-hmm.
Now go back to chapter 5 of Genesis. Read verse 1 and 2. Who did they come? Male and female.
Okay. Genesis chapter 5, verse 1,
Mhm.
quote, this is the book of the generations of Adam in the
Uh-huh.
day that God created him, man,
See, created. Man, and what?
in the likeness
It
of
said
God.
man.
Right.
And the what?
In the likeness of God made he him.
Now you in verse 27 of Genesis chapter 1. Why? Because what?
Verse 2, quote, male and female.
That's why. Created he them.
Okay.
And what?
And blessed them.
That's the verse 28.
Right.
He didn't bless verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
And what?
And called their name Adam.
Right. See, some didn't know this. I'm revealing secrets today that some may have never known. This is our Torah. I asked you earlier as we began to grab something to write with and something to write on. And with that said, write the suffix down that you looked up. You say it's a man who proclaimed something. Go to Torah again.
Tory, I quote,
Mm-hmm.
an American colonist who supported the British side during the American Revolution.
Really? So what about our revolution? That's the British side. Again, that's his story. That's history. That's his story. What about our Torah?
Right.
Our Torah became a covenant from chapter 1 and verses 27 and 28. It became a covenant. And it started, that covenant wasn't official until after the flood because we had to destroy everything. My father destroyed everything with water after those who were in verse 27 and 28 started mixed with those in verse 26. And corruption became on the earth. And Allah had to destroy it because they were not obedient, starting with the woman in chapter 3 of Genesis. She went and ate off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was those up in verse 26. That was full of evilness. And because it was a corruption, he had to destroy this planet with water that they call Noah's Ark now. Got it?
Yeah.
All right. So we had to create, after the flood, another covenant of our Torah. So that means it's got to be in the Bible, the suffix. So now go to your concordance on the screen. Because this story, again, begins with what? T. Right? So write down on your tablet, write Tory from left to right. Tory. Is that Tory? Now, it's got to be in the Bible. Remember, that T is also a cross. Whether you write a cap, uppercase or lowercase, it's a cross.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And it being that it's the 18th letter, I believe, the English alphabet, AT, T, I believe it is. If you did math, S is 19. Then that means that T is responsible for a lot of words in English that begins with T.
Mm.
So you can write below that, beginning with the. So write down THE. And in the book called John, in chapter 8 and verse 32, it says, "You shall know the." Right?
Mhm.
And what comes after the?
Truth.
Begins with what?
T.
So write that down. The truth. Now, we got the truth. We're going to get the truth. We got to get to the truth.
Mhm.
So that means this TORY should be in the Bible. Remember, I just gave you a little bit of the scientific. Each letter is scientifically a word. So go to your Strong Concordance online and type in TORY, and I guarantee you're going to find Tory. You're going to find these letters in the Bible that's connected to the covenant of verse 27 and 28 of Genesis chapter 1 from the assembly line of our factory. I guarantee you. Let me know. I'm not looking. You have to tell me what you see. TORY.
Says occurs 0 times, 0 verses.
Can't be so. You did TORY?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You did it because you did it the way that you were taught to do it.
Mm.
That's why you did it that way. That's how you were taught to do it. You put them juxtaposed together. I just told you to write T. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about the ORY? See, there are symbols. The O is for infinity, infinitely. So write down O under that. You're going to go down, or you're not going to go across. You're going to write down O. O is O. It's infinity. It's the alphabet, the ineffable, and the infinite symbol. O. No beginning, no ending. If you can find the beginning of where O starts, then come and let me know, and I'll come follow you. Show me the beginning of the circle. After that, you have the letter known as R. The R is for righteousness. It's also for a synonymous word for dominion, which is called reign and rulership. You said that you have dominion over the fowls of the air and the fish, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's rulership. And who is it being addressed to? Ye. Ye and you. That's your Y. So you went right down. You went to the TORY. That means you have the truth of infinity, of righteousness, rulership, reign, who? By you and ye forever.
Okay.
This is arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
You still have TORY in the search box? Okay, well, separate the T from the O. And separate the R from the Y. In the middle, you should have OR.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that and see what happens.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me? I'm not looking. You got to tell me.
They said that occurs 1,000.
Well, you know it can't be because you just told me it don't exist. Did you not just tell me it don't exist? So how are you going to sit there? I'm not looking at it. How are you going to sit there and tell me it exists over 1,000 times? Inside those 1,000 times, you're going to find Genesis chapter 1 and verses 27 and 28 after the flood that started the covenant with Abraham to now.
Mm.
That means somewhere there you should have What's the first one you have?
The first one they have is Genesis 13:9.
13:9.
Mm-hmm.
Read it.
Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or
Right.
if thou depart to the right hand,
Then I will go to the left.
then I will go to the left.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the next chapter? That's or.
Mm-hmm.
That's the or. What's the next chapter?
Genesis 17:12.
That's the beginning of the covenant after the flood. In this chapter, you're going to find T, and you can find OR, and you're going to find the Y. Read it and see.
Quote, and he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you,
Mm-hmm.
every man child in your generation, he that is born in the house or bought with the money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed.
Okay, did you see the T or the O, the T, the OR, and the Y? Read it again. So go ahead.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you,
Mm-hmm.
every man child in your generation.
Stop. Your T is found in there, the generation.
Mm.
I said our Tory.
Mm.
That's your generation, the generation.
Mm.
You got it?
Okay.
Okay, what else?
He that is born in the house or.
There's your or, O-R. Well, how come it didn't say and? Or what?
Bought with money of any stranger.
Now you have A-N-Y. That's any, that's your Y.
Mm.
And if you like, you can even use money with the Y.
Yeah.
But we don't use money.
Right.
It's any.
Mm.
Now you have, there's your T and generation, your or, and any, Y.
Mm.
There's your Tory. They're what?
Which is not of thy seed.
Now, that means, see the seed, that's not a seed, that's a covenant. This Genesis chapter 17 is where the covenant was established between God and Abraham. It's your Tory.
Mm.
Look for another one. Go to, what's the next one?
The next one is Genesis 24:21.
Now, if you go look at all those verses that they're going to give you in books, go to Isaiah. You should see one in Isaiah. Somewhere around chapter 43, I believe, maybe.
Isaiah.
You may have to go to a different column. Is there one in Isaiah?
First one is Isaiah 49:24. There's another.
There's one earlier than that. Should be around chapter 43 or some places.
Okay, we have Isaiah 1.
What's Isaiah 1?
1:11.
Okay.
To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, said the Lord? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams.
Now you got the burnt offerings. You got a T there. What else?
And the fat of fed beast.
Mm-hmm.
I delight not in the blood of bullocks, or
Mm-hmm.
of lambs, or of he-goats.
Or of he-goats. You have a Y in that verse at all? You should. Should be Y somewhere. I thought there you a Y. Your.
Yep.
You, I say you and ye, but that's your.
Yeah.
So there's your T, O-R, Y. Tory. That's what you always tell you. You don't sacrifice that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
What was established in chapter 1 of Genesis was, I say it again, the assembly line. It became a factory.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Genesis chapter 1 for a moment so you can see that this meat, and you may have to go to your concordance and look up meat. Read verse 29 now of Genesis chapter 1.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, quote, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat."
That meat is to reproduce itself. That became another being. It's not the meat that you thought it was at your body, your meat department, your butcher shop, in your store. That's not the meat. This meat is a metaphor. The meat of this flesh or the body of a celestial being, interestful beings. Go to concordance and look it up and let's see. Go to, you can, if you got to go back to your MEAT in your search box. You should have a few. You're going to have a few. MEAT. I want to. If you look up the meat there in chapter 1, it takes you to H402.
Yeah.
And they give you food and consumption. That's what they put to the theologians. They did not know. That's the first thing they give you. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, they take you to the etymology of it. They take you to the etymology and tells you that means by wild beasts, a figurative statement, and of judgment under H401. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Devoured.
Student or a disciple of Agar.
That's what a disciple. Right. So that means those that you reproduce are to become a disciple of God.
Right.
Not something you eat that you bought from the butcher shop.
Mm-hmm.
You got it? The Bible is codexed.
Right.
Written the scrolls were codexed. Make sense?
Yeah.
Of course they do. This was assembly line. That means male and female were created, made, blessed. And there were two males that were doing this from the Central Lodge, the father and his son.
Right.
The father in the New Testament became known as John the Baptist. You got it?
Yeah.
The son became known today in Christianity as Jesus, Jesus. When John the Baptist baptized the Christ, he told him all kinds of secrets and reminded him of who he is. In other words, that was John the Baptist's son of celestial. John the Baptist, of course, became God, was known as he was God incognito. In the flesh of another vessel, as he came and go anytime he wants. He always did that. Use a vessel and come in another name. Sometimes he had no control of the name that he used because the family that he chose to come through named him that. But he knew who he was, and he is. So when he baptized the Christ, he told the Christ who he is. The Christ cannot keep that a secret. He was supposed to, and let him know as they sat together, here's who you are in connection to me. We created beings. We're celestial. But he couldn't hold it. My disobedient, that's how I sinned against him. My disobedient self could not hold it. I was so excited. I sinned against God. I sinned against God. You just read it in Micah chapter 7. And because I did that, the men of Yehuda grabbed hold of me and thought I was calling myself God because I created man. Male and female. See, I became the foreman of the factory. So write that down. Write down factory. F-A-C-T. See, F-A-C. And then you have the T-R-O-Y. T-R-O-Y. You write back to the T-R-O-Y again. But it became a fact. You know what a fact is. If not, look it up. Search it. And study it on your own. I became a factor
Mhm.
of the factory. And they crucified me for that because they didn't know.
Mhm.
That means I became the only male factor in history. And that's what Yehuda accused me of doing. They said, they told others, he said he's God because I was telling them secrets. You have it, factor, F-A-C-T-O-R. There's so many Bibles, so many words in the Bible that begin as a prefix that has a suffix T-O-R-Y. Only one that you can think of is in the Bible that begins with V-I-C.
Mhm.
So write down, you wrote down factor, F-A-C-T-O-R. Under that, you're going to write down Vic, V-I-C, right? T-O-R. So what's a victor? Some parents name their sons Victor today. But as soon as you add the Y at the end of after the R, you have victory. And all of a sudden you find yourself with victory, but there was no victory because there was no V.
Right.
That V actually was a W and short for wick, the wick of the candles. I give you a light to light your mind with.
Mhm.
Even as I gave 7 virgins an oil lamp with a wick to light their lamps. Now I'm giving that lamp to you. Those 7 lamps in the book called Micah, chapters 1 through 7. You have factor,
Yeah.
or put male in front of that. Put M-A-L-E and put the E in front of the F and go backwards until you have the L and then the A and then the M. You should have male factor. Now, if I'm telling the truth of the T, the truth of the T-O-R-Y, then I'm the only male factor that ever existed. Then you'd have to go to your concordance to see if that's true. If it's true, that means you'll find it only once in the Bible. Once. And that should be in John, as he told me who I am. Go to it and see. It should take you right to John chapter 18. Once, John chapter 18. I'm going to go with you to see if it's true.
One time and one verse.
One time and one verse. Don't tell me it's John chapter 18.
John chapter 18, verse 30.
30?
Yeah.
One time. How about that? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go to John chapter 18. And you're going to read verse 1. That's a male. See, that male factor means I was the male in charge of the factory. The foreman in charge. You need to know who this God is in chapter 1.
Mhm.
Well, we were there both together, but who's the God responsible?
Right.
Male factor.
Mhm.
Male factory. Male factory. The factory belonged to me. All souls are mine. Now you're right back in Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 4.
Mhm.
Read verse 1. John chapter 18.
John chapter 18, verse 1, quote,
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Kidron, where was a garden, into the which he entered, and his disciples.
Verse 2.
Verse 2. And Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place where Jesus
That's
oftentimes
for Jesus.
for
Okay.
Jesus, excuse me. For Jesus oftentimes resorted thither with his disciples.
3.
Judas then, having received a band of men and officers
Came after him. Came after him. With what?
from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither with lanterns
And torches and weapons, coming after the Christ. Verse 4.
Jesus therefore,
Knew it.
knowing all things that should
Who you
come-
looking for? And verse 4, who you looking for? And that must be something that was going on, because they're looking right at me. And they asked me, where is he? And I said, it's me right here. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. That's verse 5. And verse 6. They're looking for me. And I knew it. Read verse 7.
Then asked he them again, whom seek ye?
They looking right at me. And, you know, what?
And they said, Jesus of Nazareth.
Mhm.
Jesus answered,
I mean, I told you that I'm him right here. What you were looking for? How many times do I have to tell you? You're looking right at me. Okay? Let them go their way. You want me? Let my people go. Let my people go. Years I came to Washington, D.C. It's something to give you to think about. Here is a so-called false prophet dressing up the way I dressed up, going to go see the president, and he wouldn't see me. But here are the true prophets that deceive my people all over the world. And they would meet in his Oval Office and shake their hands. I find something wrong with that picture. That's a part of the VICTORY of death. I have to swallow that up. They say I'm a false prophet. But no false prophet on this planet in existence can reveal what I'm revealing today.
Right.
None. No one. Unless the malefactor is a false prophet. Let's prove it. Read on. Go down to verse 10.
Verse 10, quote, Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and smote the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus.
So Simon Peter was arrested for that today. He was here too. He came to me in 1982 in Jacksonville, Florida. Came back down to Miami and started cutting off ears. And blamed it on John the Baptist.
Wow.
I named him Uriah. I did. I named him Uriah. Also known as a former NFL football player. I'm not going to call that name. His name is not worth my testimony in Revelation today. Verse 12.
Verse 12. Then the band and the captain and officers of the Jews took Jesus and bound him.
Bound him. And what did? In 13.
And led him away to Annas first, for he was father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year.
Now all that went on, and all that questioning was going on. They bound him, and they started interrogating him and accusing him. In fact, insomuch, and to read verse 22.
Verse 22. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand.
Could you imagine what was going on? Saying what?
Saying, Answerest thou the high priest so?
You have a lot of nerve to talk to this man like that. Who do you think you are? Everyone that came up against me were killed. Verse 18. Verse 23, excuse me. Yeah.
Jesus answered him.
See, if I had spoken evil, then bear witness of the evil. But if I spoken well, then why are you smiting me? Why are you slapping me on my face? Did you caught me in a lie? Am I really speaking evil? Read verse 24.
Now Annas had sent him bound unto Caiaphas, the high priest, and Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art not thou also one of his disciples? He denied it.
Yeah, you're not going to slap me. I mean, a lot of them got scared,
Mhm.
deceived me.
Mhm.
They abandoned me. They deceived me while they were with me, wanted me to believe they were behind me. Read verse 28.
And then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of
The
judgment.
courtroom. Now they're going to the courthouse.
Mm.
No, it's a courthouse today. The courtroom where the judge is, the prosecutor, the attorney general,
Mm.
right? The state attorney. And it was early. What?
And they themselves went not into the judgment
But they wouldn't
hall,
come in. They were afraid. Lest they what?
lest they should be
They
defiled.
were told not to come in the midst of the Gentiles. They were keeping the Hebrew law.
Mm.
But what?
But that they might eat the Passover.
Yeah, see, the Passover it was coming close to Easter. What they call Easter today, the Passover.
Mm. Yeah.
For 29.
Pilate then went out unto them and said,
I mean, what's all this commotion? Why are you bringing this man to me all bound up, his head bound? Kind of like, he's all bloody. Well, who slapped him in his face? Who hit him like this? Why is he bruised up?
wow.
And what?
Finish verse 29.
Finish it.
What accusation bring ye against this man?
What are you accusing him of? I mean, I saw him walking the streets and teaching God things, godly things. And everybody gathered around him seemed to love him. He was teaching things they never knew. I have never heard him use profane word. And I see him putting his hand on children and blessing them, picking them up and putting them on his laps and kissing them. What y'all did to this man? Verse 30.
Verse 30. They answered and said unto him, if he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him up unto thee.
Now they got malefactor. But you don't know what malefactor means. You should want to know what malefactor is. I told you is a male who's in charge of the factory, the assembly line. But you never looked up malefactor. It appears once in the King James Version of the Holy Bible. Once. And I think that now may be a good time to do it. So why don't you click on malefactor and see if it takes you to the Greek word.
G2555.
And what's it take you to?
What? An evil doer.
That's what it says, a criminal evildoer. That's what they tell you. But that's not where it comes from. See, they know that you will wake up one day and all you have to do is see malefactor because you're not going to study, Judah. All you have to do is see the cause that they use to tell you that what it means. They give them an excuse as an evil man, as they call Mika evil today.
Wow.
But you're not going to do any more researching. You're just going to stop right there at what they gave you. And then, so you get wise. You say, well, I know it comes from something else. So it must have come from G2556. So when you click on that, then what does it take you to?
Of a bad nature.
It's still wicked. And then you say, well, I'm convinced. The first one says a wicked and evil man. The second one said it comes from that. I'm convinced. I don't have to go any further because they know you wouldn't check out the third one. Why? Because you're satisfied that he was evil and wicked. Right? But as soon as you do, if you go any further and check on where it really comes from, the root of it, which is G4160, then what's it going to take you to?
We have to make.
Oh, how you get to make something evil? This meaning is where it came from, of Hebrew. When you go to this meaning, you're going to see the malefactor was one who produced something and started making something on the assembly line and bring it forth. Read the meanings.
On the A, we have with the names of things made to produce, construct, form, fashion, etc. And the B, to be the authors of, the cause. C, to make ready, to prepare. Or the D, to produce.
There you go. There is to bear. And the what? Shoot forth.
Or the E, to acquire, to provide a thing for oneself. Or the F, to make a thing out of something.
And look at G, to do what?
To make, that is, render
anything. Do you see anything is also, anything is in chapter 1? Anything that's above, the heavens above, beneath it. Anything. And then you have a constitution under G, under the what letter? One, the first one. To what?
To make, that is, constitute or appoint one anything.
Right, to what?
To appoint or ordain.
Ordain one to be the rulers of the planet. They have the many of the fish of the sea, the cows, the beasts of the field. To ordain. This is the male factor. And to do what? And to make one do something. Be fruitful and multiply. Under H. Be fruitful and multiply. Make them do something. And to carry it out and to do it, execute it under A. To execute it. To do a thing unto one. What? Worship him. That'll be your God. And then after that, the Feast of Passover. And D is to what? To celebrate and keep it. Keep the laws, the statutes, the judgments, the commandments. And to make ready and what? And so
at the same time to institute.
And to what?
The celebration
of the what? Passover. Of the Passover.
Right.
And to perform and to what? A promise. What's that got to do with evilness? Right. They know you would look it up. That's on the male factor. The male factory, the foreman. That's the real male factor. Read verse 31. I'll go back to verse 31 of John chapter 18.
Verse 31, quote, Then said Pilate unto them,
What?
Take ye him, and judge him according to your law.
Right. They go to why? Ye and you. You know. Yeah. Why? You know what? I don't want nothing to do with this. You brought him to me, and I see nothing that this man done that would cause you to bring him to my courtroom. Read on. What else?
The Jews therefore said unto him, It is not lawful for us to put any man
Wait,
to
go
death.
back up to that verse before. He said, do what with him?
Take ye him and judge him according to your law.
To your law. Yeah. What was the law? We got to find out what the law is, but read on. See, Pilate, even though you take him and you punish him under your law, right, you have to make a note of this. I'm revealing the secret that you call Easter and Passover, the cross. Speaking to the Hebrews, the men of Yehuda, the Yehudites, right, you take this man, get him out this courtroom, and you take him to your place, Golgotha, and you do with him that you want to do under your law, not my law, not the Romans' law, your law. What else?
The Jews therefore said unto him, It is not lawful for us to put any man to death.
Why? Read on.
Verse 32. That the saying of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spake, signifying what death
thou shalt not kill. Yeah. So if we kill this man, we'd be breaking the law. But Pilate said, well, I don't find any fault in him. You take him and you do to him, crucify him under your law. Read on.
Verse 33.
33.
Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again.
Well, let me go back and see. You say you're not going to kill him. You want me to kill him. You already bruised him up. He's already bleeding. He's bleeding right now in front of me. You want me to? Well, let me go interview him. I'm going to see what's going on here. Read.
And called Jesus and said unto him, Art thou the King of the Jews?
And what did he say?
In verse 34, Jesus answered him.
Go ahead.
Sayest thou this thing of thyself?
See, now wait a minute. Wait, hold on. You asked me, am I the king of the Yehudites or the Jews? How would you know that unless they told you that?
Right.
Are you asking this question because it's coming out of your mind? Or are you asking because they told you who I am? If they told you who I am, they know who I am, then why would they want to kill me? See, that's why they want you to kill me, because they know I'm their king. But you wouldn't kill a king if you knew he was king. So I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
They're not going to tell you that I'm a king because they want you to kill me. So who told you to ask me that? Read on. Let's see.
Or did others tell it thee of me?
There it is right there. Did others tell you? Read on. What happened?
Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priest.
Am I one of you people?
Right.
Why would I ask you that and I'm not one of you? So obviously they must have told me because one of them told me. Read on. Is that what it say?
Again, Pilate answered, verse 35,
Mm-hmm.
Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priest have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done?
Uh-huh.
Verse 36.
36.
Jesus answered,
Go ahead.
My kingdom is not of this world.
Do you got it? You really let that soak in for a minute. See, my kingdom is not of this world. And that's why when we came here, we created our own kingdom and brought it to this world.
Okay.
Do you hear what's going on?
Mhm.
My kingdom is not here. We came to this planet to form our own kingdom, not this world. And as we came here, we created our own beings, and we told to be fruitful and multiply. We're celestial. You are terrestrial. Do you see what's going on? Read that. Do that again so we can make sure. Start at verse 35.
35. Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priest have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Verse 36. Jesus answered.
See, I'm going to answer this time. For the record, we'll be recorded.
Mhm.
My kingdom is not of this world, not of this world. This world is condemned. Even the rulers of this world is condemned. Even though they are condemned already.
Mhm.
This world is ending. If my kingdom were of this world, then my world will end too with this world.
Mm.
Then would my servants fight? If this was my world, my servants would fight.
Mhm.
It's not my world. That I should not be delivered to the Jews, the Judites. But now is my kingdom not from hence, not from here. 37.
Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then?
I mean, why you asking me this again? You know, thou sayest that I'm a king. Why you answering your question as you asked me? To this end was I born, and came back again to this world. And for this cause came I into the world, to create my kingdom. And my Ab came to establish the kingdom of Shalom,
Shalom.
which is the most powerful knowledge of peace in existence. He came here and told you that. He came to establish the kingdom of Shalom. Everyone that is of the truth heareth my voice. Everyone that's of the truth. But lies, they won't hear my voice. They love lies.
Right.
Verse 38.
38. Pilate said unto him, What is truth?
See, in order for you to ask me the truth, you don't know what the truth is.
Right.
And when he said this, he went out again into the Judites and said to them, I find him no fault at all. This man's a king. I don't find no fault in this man. Not at all. Read verse 39.
But ye have a custom that I should release unto you one at the Passover.
See, you have a custom at Passover. You also call Easter. That I'm supposed to release one to you. So who would that be? Will ye therefore that I release unto you the king? And then read that part.
Can
Will ye what?
Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews?
Then what?
Then cried they all again, in verse 40,
Yeah.
saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber.
Right. Now, I mean, the Christ will come as a thief in the night. So I want to know how I got here. It'll be dark when I come. You won't even know. But I'll be considered a thief because I'm going to steal a lot of my people out from under the nose of Pharaoh. And he wouldn't even know it. But you fail to realize something that you did not see. Read verse 39 again. Someone have to see this.
But ye have a custom that I should release unto you one at the Passover. Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews?
Read verse 40 again now.
Then cried they all again, saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber.
They'd rather have a robber than this man.
God.
However, what they did not do was deny that he was a king.
Right. So that,
You do not see here in any verse that they said, this is not the king of the Jews. That means that they even know he is and was the king of the Jews, the Yehudites. But where's Barnabas? You got to go now. You got to go to Barabbas. See what that means. That's Hebrew. It comes from Hebrew, like maybe the son of somebody. So go to now. When you look it up in Greek, it's going to take you right back to the Hebrew. But I want you to discover this. And what do you have? You found it yet?
Okay. First place is Matthew 27:16.
Okay, Matthew 27. Okay.
G 9:12.
So see what that means. See what that says.
Son of a father or master.
Is it what?
Son of a father or master.
The son of a father. So they want a robber who has a father who also robs. Who robs. Is that what it says? What else? Go back. It's going to take you to Hebrew.
The first one is H 12:47. Which is bar, which is son.
Son. And what's the other one? It's two.
The other one's H5.
And what is that?
That is God given.
So God gave them a robber, which is the son of a robber. They're going to say God gave it to them. They'd rather choose a robber than to choose the Christ, as they're doing today. Why? Because before me were thieves and robbers. And that's what they prefer. My people are just like that today. So what was the custom? Didn't Pilate say, you take him away and you do to him that your Lord say do? The laws of Deuteronomy turn to it. Deuteronomy. That means there's never been a white man or a black man that was nailed to a cross by the Romans during Easter. That's not the law of the Hebrews.
Right.
Read Deuteronomy chapter 21. Start at verse 20. Actually, read verse 18 so you can see how it started. Since we went to John chapter 18, read Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 18.
King Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 18, quote, if a man have a stubborn and rebellious
That's
son.
stubborn. Not stubborn.
King. If a man have a stubborn and
it's not stubborn. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastised him, or chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son, Barabbas, is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of the city, all of them, shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, as they said, he's not worthy of death, for us to put him to death, and he be to be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, not a cross, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accused of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. that Christ was not crucified, nailed to no cross.
Okay.
Why? Because the same one as he left in like manner shall come back in like manner. And that's the book of the Acts. That's the Acts, which is the actions that happened, recorded. Now turn to the Acts. You read chapter 1, now go to chapter 5, and let's see what the Acts were of the truth. That's the T-T-O-R-Y. That's our story, not his story. His story says, it was a story that said he was nailed to the cross. But our story of the law says something different. Read verse 30. Acts chapter 5, verse 30.
Acts chapter 5, verse 30, quote, "The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree."
Now you know they continued the law. They commenced and they performed the law. They slew him with stones and hung his body, they thought was lifeless, on a tree. But it did not remain all night. They took it down before sundown. Were there witnesses? Yes, they were. Turn to chapter 10 now. At the Acts. These are the Acts. The truth of the O-R-Y. Or Y. Read verse 39. Were there witnesses? Yes, there were.
Acts chapter 10, verse 39, quote, "And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree."
You got it? No cross. The truth is being told. This is the celestial factory. And where all these beings come from that are the children of God. Go to Revelation, go to Deuteronomy chapter 14, just for, again, reiterate. And then we're going to close with V-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Victory. Read Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1, quote, "Ye are the children of the Lord your God. You shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead."
You got it? You're the children of God. You are fruitful and multiply. The meat, the assembly line, the factory producing celestial beings on this planet, that you not forget to entertain strangers that are mixed with terrestrial. Type in VICTORY in your search box of your concordance. And what do you have?
We have it 12 times and 12 verses. The first chapter we see it in is 2 Samuel 19:2.
That's victory.
Victory. Under H 8668.
Okay, do you see it in Isaiah? You should see it in Isaiah.
Isaiah 25:8. Under H 53:31.
We'll read a verse.
Isaiah 25:8, quote, "He will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces. At the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for the Lord hath spoken it."
Now, that comes with a different meaning. 53:31, isn't it?
Okay.
What's that meaning of that victory?
That is
I should say it's like perpetual strength or something.
Eminence, perpetuity, strength, victory, enduring, everlastingness.
Okay, but there's other meanings. What's the other meaning? You have 3467. What's that meaning?
In Psalms 98:1, H 3467.
What's that say?
To save, be saved.
What's that got to do with victory? See, somebody's deceiving you. In order to be saved, you must have victory,
Right.
or you have to be victory and do what? And be conquered. See, someone's supposed to swallow up death in victory.
Mhm.
That means in order to do that, victory itself got to be swallowed up with death.
Mm.
That means you got to destroy victory because it don't exist.
Right.
Go to the first one. Go to 8668. What's that meaning?
That one is salvation, deliverance.
Salvation. I would like to know what was there before 1611 because there was no V.
Right.
So how could there have been a victory? How was there a VIC with the TORY? Because it's their story. That's their story.
Mm.
They want you to believe that. Why? Because they don't want death swallowed up. See, the minute you think Christ swallowed up death with victory, then you think victory is destroyed. You think death is destroyed, but not so. It just brings death a prolong.
Wow.
It prolongs death because you're rescuing death with victory.
Mm.
You're rescuing death. You're not destroying death. You're rescuing death so it can prolong. And that means you continue to be dead.
Okay.
So that's why they had the W and gave you the V. Why? Because I gave you a wick. Now go in your search box and type in, instead of WICTORY, instead of VIC, type in the WICTORY. WICTORY. Type that in. And how many times that appears in the Bible?
Occurs 0 times.
0. So how could there be a victory? If there was no victory, then how could there be a victory? Because the V came from the W that they split in half. Because that's their Tory. They put the S in front of the Tory, it became their story.
Mhm.
So now take out the Tory. That's their Tory. We don't need that Tory. We don't need that Tory. Right?
Right.
That means now you were left with the wick.
Yeah.
But you have what? WIC.
WIC.
How could wick ends with a C? And I said there'd be no more C.
Mhm.
Well, just click in, search for, see if it's a WIC. Maybe WIC appears there without the Tory.
Occurs 0 times.
No, 0. That means in order to get the wick, you got to add the K. So add the K and see what you get. See if it's in the King James Version. You've been deceived. Hmm? It's not the old King James Version, but they got the new King James Version because it's wick trimmers. But then they give you wick one time without the trimmers. It should be in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 17.
That's the verse. Isaiah 43:17.
Okay, what's it say?
Who brings forth the chariot and horse, the army and the power? They shall lie down together. They shall not rise. They are extinguished. They are quenched like a wick.
And that's the death. See, it's not victory, it's the victory that I'm going to destroy the death. And I'm going to do it with a quench, with extinguishing their fire. That means you have wick. Now, why isn't it they put wick in the old King James Version? So that means in order to find out what his wick is, we got to go to the King James Version and look at Isaiah chapter 43, verse 17. So go to that. In the King James Version Bible, Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 17. And let's see what you got now. All right, Isaiah chapter 43.
17, quote.
But make sure everybody got it now, because he's do it all together. Our motto: one God, one mind, one heart, one love, one action.
Quote.
Read verse 7. Same one, right?
Same one.
Same book, same chapter, same verse.
Yeah.
Read it.
which bringeth forth the chariot and horse, the army and the power. They shall lie down together. They shall not rise. They are extinct. They are quenched as tow.
So what did they do with the wick? They towed it away.
Mm.
So you cannot find it. Why would they tow the wick away and not let you see it? Now go back to your search box in your concordance and type in T-O-W. See the T and the O of the Tory? And you see the W there? That's the Tory with the W of your V, which is the W, the wick. The T-O-W-Y, Towie, opposed to Tory. We're type the T-O-W, not T-O-E. How many times it appears? It should be in there. They said it.
It appears 3 times in 3 verses.
And let me guess, one of those verses is Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 17. But read it. Now read it with this meaning. Wait, but you have, I guarantee you, you have at least 2 different meanings. Go to Judges chapter 16, verse 9, and see what that toe is a meaning.
That's on the H5296.
Mm-hmm. What's that toe?
A strand of flax.
Oh, a strand of flax. That's all the flax. That's it.
And shaken from flax when beaten.
And shaken from flax when beaten.
And they have toe.
And they have toe. That means you won't find your wick there. They don't want you to know it's wick from victory. From wick with a W instead of the V.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got to destroy death with the wick and not with victory. Why? And the wick is your candle. I give you the wick, you put your candle, you light it, you see it, death is destroyed. That's my last enemy I'm going to destroy. Now I go to, that means Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 31 should have the same meaning of toe. H52, 96. Is that right? 96?
Isaiah 52:96.
That means the first 2 meanings are the same.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you the last meaning is not the same.
Different.
Go to it. H6594. And what is that?
Flax.
Flax. Don't tell me you're going to find wick in that someplace.
On the B, we have as wick for lamp.
Oh, you do have wick for lamp. That's the lamp that I'm going to give you. See, that wick was saved for the 7 lamps in Zechariah chapter 4. The 7 lamps. There's 7 pipes and 7 lamps. You cannot light a lamp without the wick. And that's why we have wicks in those 7 lamps. And you have 5 lamps. You have 7 lamps out there too, don't you? Now you see the wick. And when you add, see, what did they do? They took away the wick and gave you the Vic. Right? And they don't want you to know that I'm going to come back and give you back the wick. So they give you a different type of education. So they even took off the ED off the wick. So you would know that they are wicked by taking off the ED of the wick. But I put the ED back on and let the whole world know they are wicked and took off the wick and gave you victory. They gave you the vic of their Tory. That's just a little bit of secrets I had to share today. I had to bring you the mail factory, the assembly line, let you know how we got here and why they crucified that body over 2,023 years ago. I was revealing the secret that we are not terrestrial. We're celestial beings from another planet. I told them. I'm not going to tell them anything more today. I think that's enough. I think the U.S. government by now should know. What you think? Well, we want to say, we pray that my people hurry up and come, get here. Because my father's just lighting things up. He's just beginning to light it up. You have another winter that's coming, it's going to be worse than the first. You got round 2 coming, and then it's going to be a round 3. Worse than round 2. Round 3 is going to be worse than round 2, and round 2 is worse than round 1. So I say, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of the plagues. Be not partakers of the plagues. that you receive not her sins and plagues. Don't do her sins. Come out of her. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And with that said, that's all I have to share. That's all I have to reveal today. Praise Yod.
Praise Yod.